Before the fire ignited, the world breathed slowly, yet it was suffocating. The streets were empty, smoke rising from factories, flags fluttering in the cold wind, and the faces of civilians weary and anxious. In 1939, Europe stood on the edge of the abyss. Words of anger, speeches of hate, and ambitions without limits, all were paving the way for a war the world had never seen before. The sound of soldiers' footsteps echoed across cracked sidewalks. The wind whistled between buildings, and the smoke choked the view. On the 1st of September 1939, the German war machine moved without mercy. Tanks advanced across the borders. Smoke columns rose from burning villages. Planes flew low, and bombs rained down on the fractured ground. Poland fell beneath the treads of tanks and the roar of explosions. And with the first shot, World War II had begun. Civilians ran through the rubble, houses partially destroyed, and the sky was covered in thick smoke. Europe fell one nation at a time. France, the great power, collapsed within weeks. The streets of Paris were empty, windows shattered, occupation flags fluttering over buildings, the air thick with dust and smoke. Britain stood alone, facing darkness creeping from every direction. In the skies over London, the battle was not on the ground, but above the clouds. Young pilots faced death every day, the roar of aircraft intersecting overhead, explosions striking the ruined buildings, the night filled with flashes and long shadows. If Britain fell, the free world would have fallen with it. Then came the most dangerous decision, the invasion of the Soviet Union. Soldiers marched through frozen snow, tanks coated in ice, destroyed buildings stretching along the front lines, the bitter cold piercing everything. Thousands of kilometers of battlefield, winter sparing no one. The snow was stronger than bullets, and the silence was broken only by distant gunfire, while the wind whipped frozen uniforms and frost-covered weapons. On December 7, 1941, the world shook once again. Pearl Harbor drew the United States into the war. The night sky lit with explosions, ships overturned, water boiling from bomb impacts, black smoke covering the horizon, echoes of blasts resonating across the harbor. And now, the war had truly become global. Stalingrad was not just a city. It was the turning point. Street by street, house by house fighting, walls scarred by bullets, windows shattered, the ground littered with rubble, the bitter cold penetrating everything. Here, Germany began to retreat, soldiers falling under collapsed buildings, smoke rising with every new explosion, the heavy silence suffocating the atmosphere. On June 6, 1944, thousands of soldiers crossed the sea into open fire. Normandy was the gateway to liberating Europe. Every step on the sand was paid for in blood, the waves crashing violently, shells flying through the air, the overcast sky adding to the difficulty of the landing. Soldiers fell, shouted, the ground covered with debris and weapons. Night settling over the scene, only the flashes of explosions and gunfire visible. By 1945, the war had returned to where it began. Berlin burned, tanks rolled between destroyed buildings, dust covering the streets, walls collapsed blocking the view. The Third Reich was collapsing, civilians and soldiers hiding among the rubble, the sound of explosions filling the city, smoke covering the sky entirely. After 6 years of blood, the nightmare in Europe ended. But the end was not ordinary. In August 1945, a new weapon changed the world forever. Hiroshima, then Nagasaki. A white flash lit the night, cities reduced to ruins, dust and smoke hanging in the air, the faces of survivors filled with shock and grief. Millions of lives lost, a new world born from the ashes. And one question remained in the air. Had humanity learned from this war?